I'm Wesley Hunt.
I'm Wrendon Hunt.
And you're in the hunt. Another week is upon us, sir.
Yes.
I will kick us off. This week, we'll be talking about leadership and the importance of leadership. We've seen a few examples over the course of the past week of what we would deem to be not such a good idea of showing good leadership, especially when it's expected of those that are in leadership positions. And I'll just start off by talking a little bit today about LeBron James. Now,
LeBron James.
Look, LeBron James is one of the greatest athletes of all time. Wrendon, I think you spoke about him a few weeks ago when we're not talking about actually his character and who he is as a person. Here's a guy that's going to spend 20 years in the NBA. You don't hear any scandal. You hear about him showing up to his kids' basketball games. You hear him being a supportive husband.
He brought Space Jam back.
I'm going to talk about that.
Probably shouldn't have, but he brought it back. It's the sequel nobody wanted.
Space Jam is reserved for the GOAT, okay? There's only one GOAT.
Bugs Bunny.
I was going to say Michael Jeffrey Jordan.
Oh, that one.
Yeah. But Bugs.
That Toon Squad would not have won without Bugs, though. And there had to be a Pippin on that team.
So this is not
Babs actually had more game than Bugs in that one, though.
Here we go. So this is actually not a slam on LeBron James personally, although I would argue that.
I see what you did there. This is not a slam on LeBron James.
Yeah, I don't.
We're not trying to block his character or steal his integrity. We're just trying to assist people to understand
with some ideas.
The situation.
And then hopefully in the future they don't have any turnovers.
Exactly.
That's all we're trying to do. And we're trying to avoid personal fouls.
Yes.
And I think if
there
we
are
do
no personal fouls here, right? There's individual fouls, but not personal fouls.
That's it. That's all we're trying to do.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get to halftime, man.
We're not keeping score here.
No. And so this is, I think LeBron James in certain ways has actually done a lot. Now, I don't really agree with his view of the world politically, and we'll probably delve into that later on at some point. But I will say this, for someone who is probably who is the best player of this generation, hands down, not even close. He's the best player of the last 15 years, and there's no getting around that. Yeah. This past yesterday, actually last week, they lost the playoff game, and with 6 minutes remaining in the game, he got up and walked out on his team. And I understand his frustration. I understand the injury bug caught up with this team, but you got to be kidding me. And then just yesterday, we saw him leave again without shaking the hands of the other team, and then giving a press conference that I felt like was actually lackluster for what we would expect as someone that we view as one of the top leaders in this realm. And again, this is not about bagging on a grown man. He's 36 years old. Yeah. He's won 4 more championships in the NBA than I ever will. He is one of the greatest players of all time. But what I am saying is that if you want to be an example and be a social justice warrior and go that route, there has to be a certain level of consistency with how you lead and how you behave on the court as well.
Leaders lead. Leaders lead, and I think when I think about leadership and quotes and the ones that really resonate with me, 1953, Harry Truman farewell address. Mm-hmm. The buck stops here. Mm-hmm. And we can make excuses as to, well, I didn't want to do this and I didn't want to do that, or I was frustrated. Mm-hmm. The buck stops with the leader of a team. Mm-hmm. And there are structures of leadership. There's people who are put in leadership positions, mm-hmm. and there are people that don't need to be put in positions because they just lead. Mm-hmm. And once again, you know how I feel about LeBron James, his skill on the court, his basketball IQ, all these things. It's disappointing to see somebody who has led so well over the course of his career. Mm-hmm. Okay, if you take away the super teams, and don't take them away just once, take them away not once, but 2 times, 3 times.
He did this.
If you take away the super teams, the teams that he was leading to the finals when he was with Cleveland,
yes,
he is one of 2 or 3 players who's ever played the game that could have led those teams deep into the playoffs.
Trash teams. And they didn't win because he didn't have any help, but yes.
But, so I'm not questioning.
The guy was in the finals like how many years in a row?
Like a bunch.
Yes, it's just insane.
I'm not questioning his leadership abilities or capabilities. I'm talking about the leadership examples that we pass on to the next generation.
Yes.
He's done a lot of things right from a leadership perspective.
Mm-hmm.
This was a major blunder.
Yes.
It was a lack of sportsmanship.
Uh-huh.
It was, I think, in many ways selfish.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look, I would expect this behavior from the number one leader of the Knicks fans, Spike Lee, who walked off before the game was over with the Hawks after they got torched.
Right.
But
Beginning Spike Lee.
Not from, this is a fan, not from the person that's actually on the court who's playing, who expects those to play with him to step their game up to his level.
Yes.
That's not leadership.
It's not.
You know, one of the best things that I learned from West Point, and certain things are just seared in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the ring poop, we talked
How's
about
the cow?
that. Hey, she walks, she talks, she's full of chalk.
The lacteal fluid extracted from the female of the bovine species is highly prolific
to the nth degree.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
certain things are just seared in your memory.
Yeah.
And remember the leadership acronym that
Yes.
we learned for
I'll never forget it.
for the values of the Army.
Mm-hmm.
The leadership acronym loyalty.
It's not spelled, but it's spelled wrong.
Yeah, it is spelled
LDR.
wrong. Yeah.
It's LDR. Go ahead.
But intelligence isn't on there. Loyalty, duty,
yeah.
respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. 7 values of the Army.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That seared in my mind in terms of when I see leaders and I see things that don't show that leadership. He wasn't loyal to his team.
Mm-hmm. And so he wasn't loyal to his team, and he wasn't loyal to the fans, and he wasn't loyal to the brand. He wasn't loyal to the Lakers. He messed this one up, because the one thing that you also want to see from leaders is that when it's all fine and dandy and everybody's in China having a good time after you won, that's when the championship. It's easier when things are going well.
Yeah.
It's easy to win.
Yeah.
It's the test of someone's integrity and their courage and their leadership when all the chips are down. And let's be honest, he had to be very frustrated in this last series because Anthony Davis was hurt the entire time. With a healthy Anthony Davis, we're probably not even having this conversation. But guess what? That's not what happened.
Yeah.
And what we want to see, what we need to see, what I want my girls to see, what I want young people to see is, even though LeBron lost and got booted out of the first round, he lost with class.
Yeah.
He came to the mic after in the press conference and wasn't talking about Space Jam.
Yeah.
He's congratulating the other team for a good win. We did the best we could. We fell a little short. We're going to come back next year retooled and ready to win a championship. Yeah. I don't want to hear about what you're going to do with bugs.
Well, in you know this about me. I'm a big fan of tennis. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite athletes of all time, somewhere in the 1 to 5 range, is the great Roger Federer.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man, what a class act.
I love Roger Federer equally for what he does on the court as to how he handles himself off the court.
Mm-hmm. What a class act.
Gracious in victory, gracious in defeat. What an example.
Yes, he's the best, man. Pete Sampras was another one, if you're talking about tennis.
Yes.
Gracious people.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a lot in tennis. Arthur Ashe.
Incredible. Incredibly gracious.
It's a gracious,
in spite of a racially charged time too.
The time that he was doing that.
First black man to ever win Wimbledon. What a gracious man.
Yes. Yes. The way he treated his opponent who didn't think he was worthy of being on the same court with them.
Mm-hmm.
And he pulled them short white shorts and them them high white socks.
And them wooden rackets.
And went and did it.
Yeah.
And went and did it. But that's, and once again, there's this piece of leadership too where we have to accept as a culture and as a society that every person is in a leadership position.
Mm-hmm. In some capacity, yeah.
Every person. Our actions define who we are as leaders, whether you're appointed as leader or whether you just find yourself in a leadership position in whatever situation you might be in.
Mm-hmm. That goes for your family.
Yes.
That goes for the job. That goes for just being with friends.
Yes.
But since we're still talking about basketball, the one thing that still forever will like rub me the wrong way is your boy Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah.
With Michael Jordan. Walking out, not shaking their hand. Now you could say what you want about the era and about the time and this that will forever stick out to me. So you've beaten Michael Jordan and that Bulls team for years, and then you know what? They retooled, they got better, and they got you. Tip your hat to them.
Well,
lose graciously.
And I will say this because, once again, not a bash LeBron James session. LeBron James giving a signed jersey to Devin Booker after he hung 50 on him to boot him out of the playoffs for the first time in the first round for the first time in his career. That was classy, man.
It really was classy.
I like that.
Yeah, I saw that too.
I like that a lot.
Yes.
So it's not just slamming on him, but look, I mean, if there's opportunities where we can be better role models, where we can get better, I mean, that's what I'd like to highlight.
That's a good point.
And you speak of Michael Jordan or LeBron James, somebody who coached LeBron James for Team USA, also
fellow West Point graduate,
also a West Point grad. Mike
out there.
Krzyzewski, spell it.
WESTPOINTGRAD.
Spell Krzyzewski. K.
Shesky.
Can you imagine when he was in Beast and stuff at West Point, them trying to pronounce his name?
That's why he's Coach K. I'm convinced. They just called him K at West Point.
We had a guy in my Beast platoon, Garrett Van Landingham.
Okay.
And they used to call him Cadet Alphabets. Because, we have Hunt. You have Hunt on your name, and all these, every letter in Hunt is in 24-point font. Van Landingham was like an 8-point font. Ran all the way across to his chest. There's a kid. Remember when we played? That's a lot.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
Remember when we played for the Klein Jets Little League football?
Real quick, back to Van Landingham. Do you know how horrible his elementary school? Like, could you imagine being in 5th grade and having to write Van Landingham?
It took me 20 minutes.
But the test is halfway over. You're still spelling your name. Van Landingham. That's wild.
There was a guy who was on my Pop Warner football team. We played for the Klein Jets, and his name was Steven Pompanovic.
Oh yeah, that's a rough one.
It was the same thing, man. He had those little tiny letters that were going across. But anyway, Mike Krzyzewski, I mean,
how many years, dude? So to put this in perspective, I think he started coaching the Blue Devils in 1980. They haven't had a losing season since 1986. And
5 national championships.
Dude, it's before we were even born, Wrendon.
Yeah.
I mean, and the list is endless. 5 national championships. I think 14 ACC championships.
Yeah.
67 players going.
How many
to the
Final
NBA.
Four appearances?
Like it just
coaching Team USA, gold medal. I mean,
Tom, 4 years, 4 times. It's just clearly the GOAT. I mean, if we're talking about basketball coaches, I mean, who's better?
You can put him over John Wooden like that?
I think I would, Wrendon.
Really?
Eras, and even adapting to different times. And what you also have to understand too about Coach K is that he came in at a time to where everybody goes to college, you play 4 years, maybe 3 or 4, and then you go to the NBA after that. And then he had to completely adapt the game to the one and done era, and he did.
But Wesley, it's not like John Wooden had the best player on the court when he had Kareem. John Wooden was the Phil Jackson of college coaches.
Right, and I would put John Wooden high up there, but I give the go to
Bill
Coach
Walton
K.
and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
But see, I also think
Greg Popovich.
Greg Popovich is
over Phil Jackson.
I would put him there.
We've had this conversation.
I would put him there.
I would agree with you.
Phil Jackson's a hell of a coach. Don't get me wrong, but I mean,
but he wins championships with the best player in the league on his team.
That's right.
Yeah,
and
that's great. But I mean, the level of coach and
by the way, he had the best players on his team, but oftentimes, especially when he went to LA, it was the same team, different coach, and they won.
Yeah.
So there is some magic that Phil Jackson has.
Yeah.
To put all the egos in one big bucket and manage them.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, I mean, you had Shaq in his prime.
Yeah. Yeah. Kobe in his prime.
Yeah.
Jordan in his prime.
Jordan in his prime.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, but Pop
You had
did.
B.J. Armstrong in his prime.
Yeah.
You had Bill Winnington in his prime.
Yeah, Bill Cartwright. Yeah, Bill Cartwright in his prime.
You had Luke Longley in his prime.
I mean, those are some real coaching challenges right there.
Yeah, yeah.
But Coach K, talk about leadership and his attendance to the premier leadership institution of the world, West Point.
Yeah.
How much class and grace for the last 40 years have we seen from this man?
It's incredible.
I mean, you talk about making me a proud West Pointer and watching this guy over the years. I can't imagine a more classier event. I can't imagine somebody that really embodied the kind of leadership that we want to see from everyone.
When I was a senior at West Point, he got the Distinguished Alum Award.
Yep.
And I was part of the group of people that got to tour him around.
Oh, wow.
And it was fantastic. I mean, this guy just he's not a loud guy.
Yeah.
He exuded calm
presence
and wisdom.
Yeah.
Right.
He had the glow.
It's like whenever he would say something, you're hanging on every word.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. And what he would do that I really thought was incredible, whenever cadets would somehow find themselves at Duke, he would make sure that there were tickets available.
Yeah.
To go to a game. And I never went to Cameron to see a game. It's something that's on my bucket list. I will do that at some point.
He has one more year left. This is his last year, or he's retiring now?
He has 1 year left.
It would be kind of cool
if he could go out on one, man.
If we could make a trip out there to go see it.
Oh, we should do that.
Yeah. If we could go to Cameron, his last year. I mean, it'd probably be very difficult to get tickets, but that would be cool.
I think we should absolutely do it.
Yeah.
Difficult, but not impossible.
Nothing's impossible. Right?
Difficult takes a day. Impossible takes a week.
Yeah.
I do this in my sleep.
Yeah. So thanks, Jay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jay.
So, when I look at Coach K and what he's been able to do and what he's been able to accomplish, and it was truly a situation, even being in his presence, there was just calmness. It was amazing. Mm-hmm. I got to go to one game, wasn't at Cameron. I went to a game at UVA when he was playing there. I had some friends who went to University of Virginia, and Duke happened to be in town to play. And it was when they had J.J. Redick. Mm-hmm. And you're talking about one of the best shooters in the history of college basketball. Mm-hmm. Okay. And you want to talk about leadership. I'm at this game, and J.J. Redick pulls up for a three, like 5 feet behind the line. Mm-hmm. Okay. And it was one of those J.J. Redick where he probably had 4 or 5 threes in the first half, right? He pulls up like 5 feet behind the line, right? Drains this three. And all I hear is a storm of 4-letter words coming out of Coach K's mouth. And he's flipping out. And he yanks him from the game.
Yeah.
Right? And it was crazy to see that we have a plan. We have a strategy. You might make that shot now, but that's not the strategy that's going to get us to our ultimate place, which is winning a championship.
Yeah.
So as your coach, I don't care how good you are.
I don't care. You made the shot.
That's not what we're doing.
Yes. Coach K?
And man, 22, 21-year-old Wrendon saw that. I was like,
Coach K?
Whoa.
Coach K?
Whoa.
A classic leader.
It's incredible.
And everybody can't be that, Wrendon. Everybody can't do that. I recognize that 100% of the way. Like, obviously we're talking about like the elite level guys, and we can't expect everybody to have that level of acumen. I'm not lost in understanding that. That doesn't mean that we can't view these people and try to mimic them and be like them. To be as classy as that, to be as distinguished as that, to be as good of a practitioner of our craft as that.
And I would even amend that and say, not even trying to be like them, take the pieces that are relevant to us and be the best version of ourselves.
And so this is also the issue. So LeBron played with Coach K to win some of these gold medals. Yeah. So LeBron has seen the best.
And he won a championship with Tyronn Lue. He's seen the best.
Clearly. And so I just feel like I feel like at some point at 36 years old, LeBron, you've now seen the best.
Yeah,
you've been coached by the best.
And
you knew walking off that court was not the best idea.
And you knew better. And I would say this for Isaiah. And I'm an Isaiah Thomas fan.
Yeah.
I love Isaiah Thomas's game. One of the most underrated point guards to ever play in the game. I mean, his game was ridiculous. It was the same way with both of them. You cats are too late in your career.
Yeah.
To really be doing. I mean, this is childish.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you're too late in your career to be playing these reindeer games.
Yes.
You really are.
Yes.
And you see leaders like this. It's not just in sports. I mean, you see leaders of all types, whether it be politics, business, who do things, and you watch them do these things, and you're just like, you're a little bit too seasoned to be doing this.
So one that comes to mind immediately in the news this week is Kamala Harris. So you've been a leader for a long time.
Yeah.
Again, you know how I feel about her politics, but I'm talking specifically about what leaders should be doing, and you know what you should be doing. If you serve the United States Senate, you've reached a level of leadership that you understand what you should be doing and what you need to do. And as the vice president, she was basically made, I'm kind of making this up, she's kind of been made the border czar.
Sure.
And that was impressed upon her by President Biden.
Czar with a T or a C?
Yes.
Okay.
So now, it's been I don't know how long, she hasn't even gone to the border.
Yeah.
Now I don't want to play like Republican versus Democrat political football with this. Like there really is no problem at the border if you're a Democrat. If you're a Republican, the border we're getting ready to be over with. The redcoats are coming.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to say that. But what I am saying is that if someone puts you in charge of something, at a minimum, you go get eyes on it immediately. Yeah. At a minimum, that's what you do.
Yeah.
And so by literally days and months and weeks passing, without literally you going to just, I don't know, look at it. Go talk to the border. I don't care what it looks like politically to you. I don't care what CNN or Fox or anybody else might say about it. I don't care. Just go do your job. You were put in charge of something. So go be in charge of it.
Yeah.
The American people in general are going to respect that no matter what side you're on.
Yeah.
Don't downplay it. Don't upplay it. Go fix the problem.
Yeah. Well, show up.
And clearly there is one if the president put you in charge of something.
Well, there's clearly a problem.
So there's clearly a problem.
Yeah. I mean, and once again, to the level at which we elevate things, I mean, it doesn't take the vice president of the United States to oversee something if there's no issue.
Yes.
Right.
We recognize that there's an issue.
Yeah. When I was in business school, there was a case that we did, and there was a protagonist for this case. It was basically the guy who had developed the OnStar system in cars. Mm-hmm. Okay. And there was a time at which Apple was looking to purchase this technology. And so Steve Jobs flew this guy out to talk to him about purchasing this technology. And in typical Jobs fashion, he got all mad, flustered, and was causing a scene. And he says, you can just get out of here. We don't need your technology. We can do it somewhere else. And the guy smiled and he left. And he said, it was one of the best days of my life. It's like, do you know why? And I'm sitting here like, why? Because Steve Jobs just yelled at you? I don't get it.
Yeah.
It's like, no, he didn't fly me out here on a private jet to tell me I'm an idiot.
Of course not. So you knew you had something.
He flew me out here because
he knew
it was worth his time. He knew he had something. And it's the same thing with the border. We could, if there is any indication that there are things that need to be resolved on our border, it's that the second highest public official in our entire government is overseeing the process of trying to make it better.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
This is a signaling thing. And when you are signaled to be in charge of something,
go be in charge.
The number one things that leaders do, leaders show up, man.
Yeah.
Leaders show up.
Yep.
It's the issue that we're having more broadly, I think, post-COVID, with pushes to work remote and things like that. There's certain jobs that you can do remotely, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And there will have to be a level of flexibility in the market as people continue to go back to work and continue to remake their careers. The people who are in the top job, the top seat, mm-hmm. they don't get to work remotely. Mm-hmm. Leaders got to be there.
Yeah. Show up.
Leaders show up. That's important.
Yeah. Leaders lead. It's just that simple.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times it's really hard because the external pressures that get put on us all the time. How are we signaling? How does it look? Are we trying to downplay something? Are we trying to upplay something? There's so many factors that play a role in this. Like what's this faction going to say juxtaposed to what this faction is going to say? And I understand it gets complicated, and I understand that somebody's going to be upset. You're going to piss off somebody.
Always.
That's a part of being a leader.
Yeah.
Part of being a leader is accepting the fact that you're going to piss somebody off. Sometimes it's going to be somebody that's on your team. Sometimes it's going to be somebody that's not on your team. Somebody's going to be upset. You cannot be like that tree in an empty field that just flaps with the wind, depending on how it blows you. You cannot do that. You can't be that person.
Yeah.
So I think even as simple as just saying, look, I'm going to go check this out, and you're probably going to tick off some of the left. I'm sure you're going to tick off. I got it. CNN's not going to run a report on this, and oh my gosh, she's now at the border. What's really happening? Lead.
But once again, this goes back to so many of the conversations we have about making things that are fairly straightforward over politicized.
Yeah.
This is the mass, right? And I say this all the time about now as things are continuing to open up in Houston, my default now is to not have a mask on. If somebody tells me to have a mask on and I want to be there, then I'll put a mask on. This is your place of business. You are a private business. That's fine. If I don't like it, then I can leave. I don't have to be there.
Yes.
I can go somewhere else and spend my money.
Actually, legally, they can't make you do it anymore.
And that's fine. Cool.
Yep.
But even so, if somebody tells me to do
even
that,
so,
I would still do it.
You'll do it, yeah.
Because I'm not trying to be a contentious person, right? It's like, okay, this is your place of business. You're more
Fine,
whatever. And we try to make something over politicized that shouldn't be politicized. The idea that leaders show up is not a political statement.
Yeah.
It is a statement of fact, and it's a statement of expectations.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
I expect that somebody who leads and represents me will show up.
Yeah.
My kids play sports. My daughter's on swim team right now. My son plays baseball. As the co-head and leader of my household, it's important for me to show up to that stuff.
And they need to see you there.
It's important.
It's important to carve time out of your day to be there.
Be there, be attentive. That's the first thing in leadership.
It's not hard.
People don't care what you know until they know that you care. The way that you show people that you care is by showing up. And we can throw darts on there's people in cages and all these things going on at the border, yada, 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 yada. Well, let's go see it and make sure we have some eyes on it and understand what's going on.
Let's show up. Yeah. It's not too much to ask, Wrendon.
No.
It really isn't too much to ask. And I don't want to bag on her. I don't want to get on talk. There's no personal attacks. There's none of that. But that's not too much to ask.
Well, and I think that's a beautiful point. Even all of our candidates who were running for public office, they saw the issues that were going down the border.
Yes, they did.
You're running for president? Get on down to the border. Show me how much you care about it. Don't talk about it.
Be about it.
This is for leaders who we see more broadly, and the type of leadership that we've been defaulted into accepting. We have issues going on. You want to know what it's like to be deployed? Go to the ship and see the sailors.
Go see it. Go to a combat zone. Go see it for yourself. Go to Afghanistan. Go to Iraq. Go see it for yourself.
And I would be the first to say that is for all of the presidents who have done that, right?
Yeah.
I love it when that happens.
It's awesome.
These guys just show up.
It's awesome.
Hey, you're serving. Thank you for being here.
It's awesome.
How do you think that makes the soldiers and sailors feel?
It's the best thing you could ever see
when
in
they
your
wake
life.
up and they see the commander in chief
on the ship. It's awesome.
I don't care who it is. Bush, Obama, Clinton. Awesome. That's why it's so special. No matter what you believe in about their politics, why do you think you have these leaders that speak at the commencement ceremonies of the service academies?
They showed up.
They're showing up. They're saying these people are willing to die for us.
Yep.
I can show up and give a speech. Show up.
Mm-hmm. It's a good example that gets set, too, when that happens. You talk about instilling an esprit de corps in people's soul. You talk about generating some serious motivation to complete the mission, to complete their task. Just be a leader who shows up. And I just used a whole bunch of military jargon there. But it's actually applicable to everything.
It really is.
It's applicable to your job. It's applicable to your family. It's applicable to your friendships. Just showing up. I got called out on that one time. A really good friend of mine. It was a while. I just got busy, and I was busy. This is a few years ago, and she's still one of my best friends to this day. And one day she's just like, it's not about like, I know you're busy. I don't expect you to be at everything. I don't expect you to do everything, but sometimes just show up. Took that to heart. And now I do.
Yeah.
And she appreciates it, by the way.
Yeah.
And I can't be there all the time. I can't hang all the time. We have very busy lives now.
Yeah.
But I do just show up.
Yeah. Sometimes you show up and just see what happens.
That's it. That's what leaders do.
Yeah. And what it means to those people who you lead when you show up like that.
Yeah. It's awesome. Do you know what the coolest thing was for me, being at Fort Hood or being at West Point, and you be running and you look over and you see General Lennox running?
Yeah.
Running by the formation. How awesome was that?
It was so cool.
General Lennox, he was our commandant while we were at West Point. I'm sorry, he was a superintendent while we were at West Point. And one of the best leaders I've ever seen.
And even then, he was running faster than me.
Yeah, he probably still can.
Probably.
I hate to break it.
Why do you say probably?
I hate to break it to you. But never being in formation and seeing 3-star general running past your formation.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah. It's incredible.
It's inspirational.
Yeah.
He's just showing up.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to be there. He's a 3-star general. We can do whatever he could be wherever he wants to be. He can do whatever he wants to do. And he's out at 6:00 in the morning running formation runs past the cadets.
It's because he has the DNA of a leader.
Yes.
And not only does he have the DNA of a leader, he has the DNA of a leader that leads from the front. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I've continued to grapple with is leaders have a problem when they see things that are done wrong because they want to lead and fix them. Mm-hmm. That's what you're doing. That's why you're running for Congress.
Yeah.
Leaders don't walk by the trash that's on the ground.
They pick it up.
Leaders don't play that game. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, we're in a place right now in our culture where we need more people to make the decision to lead. Mm-hmm. We all have it in us. We all have it in us. And there are different types of leaders. We talk about Mike Krzyzewski, who played for Bobby Knight at West Point, yeah. Right? Clearly,
very different personalities. Very different.
Clearly, Coach K wasn't a good enough basketball player to play in the NBA. Mm-hmm. Clearly, right? But just because he couldn't lead by being a player, yeah. didn't mean that there weren't other avenues by which he could lead. And this is what we really need to start asking ourselves as a society. This is yeah. the question we need to continue to ask ourselves. You don't have to run for Congress.
Yes.
You don't have to be a CEO. You don't have to be a captain of a team. In what way are you being called to lead? Yeah. You don't want to run for office? Maybe there's a candidate that you can help. Maybe you can help them with flyers, something like that.
Yeah.
You can't be the coach of your kids' baseball team? Cool. Maybe you can be in charge of snacks.
Mm-hmm. What can you do?
What can we do? Leaders don't ask themselves.
Ask not yeah. what your country can do for you.
Yes.
Ask what you can do for your country.
Yes. Leaders don't try to weasel out of doing things.
No.
Leaders don't ask themselves, how can I get out of doing this?
They don't pass the buck.
They ask themselves, how can I do this?
You bring up a good point.
I normally do.
Oh, God. Here we go. This time you brought up a good point.
You're only 97% on that now.
because like a lot of people automatically quit and give up if they think that their impact is not going to be on this grand scale. They think if they're not playing on the court in the NBA, then
just doesn't matter.
Well, if you're not running for Congress, then never mind, I'll just do nothing. The default is it's a zero-sum game. It's all or nothing, and that's not true. In fact, oftentimes it's kind of like the military setup, right? I remember when we were in the military, for every one infantry soldier that was kicking down doors, there were 10 people in support of that one person. If there's a breakdown in one of those 10, then it puts that person's life at jeopardy. They're all important.
Yeah.
They're all important. It's not a zero-sum game. It's exactly what you said. What can you do? What can you contribute? Don't do nothing.
Yeah. Do
something.
Yeah.
I think before we were kind of talking about, with some of the racial injustice that we're seeing in the world today, and we were talking about, changing your Facebook picture like black.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
But that's not what we're talking about here, by the way.
No.
Changing your profile picture black it means nothing. Congratulations, you have now virtue signal that you like black people. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. That's great. Did you volunteer any time for these causes that you believe in? Did you give any money to these causes? Did you reach out to try to mentor a young black person who you know is struggling? Is it all talk?
Yeah.
So you can sit around and drink tea and look at your friend and talk about how you changed your Facebook profile and I can't believe this, and then you walked away and did absolutely nothing about it.
See, lead is an action.
Right, and I don't count changing a profile picture as an action.
Yeah, lead is an action.
It's a call to action.
Yes, this is what people step up to actually do things, to actually make a change, to make a difference. Mm-hmm. That's what leading is about.
What we see a lot of times in our society there is a whole lot of talk. It's a whole lot of talk.
A lot of talk, not a lot of action.
See, you and I are in here every week because we believe in this country. We want to lead, and we want to add opinions to people given the way that we view the world over the years and add a little bit of nuance to it. That's kind of why we're here every week. You and I got sick and tired of having these conversations by ourselves. We got sick of seeing things that were wrong in the world and some of the sickness and the ills and the cancers without anybody actually speaking up, taking time out of our day, taking time away from our families, taking time away from our children to do this to help.
And there was a perspective that we saw that was not being addressed.
Yeah.
We saw a perspective of being a victim rather than being a victor. We saw a perspective of people speaking as if the American dream is a thing of the past. We saw a perspective of people believing that everybody in this world is against them and that we don't live in the greatest country in the world where there is so much opportunity, where there is so many people who are willing to help out, where there are people who are committed and care about you in this country more broadly. Mm-hmm. I got tired of hearing other people talk about how that doesn't exist. And I got tired of hearing about it because I live it every day. I got tired of hearing about it because of the many black people and white people and Asian people and Hispanic people who have supported us in this journey to become who we are today. I got tired of hearing it because of the many officers at West Point and many cadets at West Point who invested in me, who invested in us, who had no other reason to help us than besides they thought that we are good people. I got tired of hearing it because I got to serve on naval ships with people from all different classes and colors and religions and creeds who supported us,
Amen.
and who were willing to fight with me and potentially die
Amen.
because of what we all believe that this country stands for. And you mean all I have to do is walk in the studio and start talking? Sign me up.
Wow. Amen.
Sign me up. Like we used to say in the Navy, man. All that and a paycheck?
Amen.
I used to have a chief who used to say that. I've told Wesley this a million times. You know, whenever something would go wrong on the ship, it's like, hey, now you gotta clean out the crapper. Now you gotta go do something stupid you don't want to do. Or, hey, guess what? You know, we told you we were gonna pull into Sydney, Australia. We're actually not. We're going to Djibouti. You know, you get all this bad news. And I had a chief who had one of the best attitudes that I've ever seen. And whenever this information would go down, he would walk out of the room and he would look at me and say, hey, sir, all this and a paycheck?
By the way, I think you and I say that. I think once a day now.
Oh, just the perspective of that.
We're like, it's just
All
it's,
this and a paycheck?
Yeah.
That's what I feel about living in America, man.
Yeah.
You know, there's ups and downs,
Yeah.
bumps and things like this, but
I
man,
mean,
all this
and
a paycheck?
So true.
I could do that.
So true. And we've entered a world to where we are pitting ourselves against each other based on the color of our skin, which is completely antithetical to what we have fought for generations, to literally get to a point to where we are judged by the content of our character, not by the color of our skin. Stop it.
Yeah.
Stop trying to divide us. We're in this together.
Yeah.
And I think your words are very well taken. And that is, this is actually the America that we see every day.
Absolutely. Well, there's another piece of leadership that we overlook sometimes. We always assume that we have to get to the next level in order to do something,
Oh, yeah.
right? It's like working out. You ever talk to your friends who you know are never going to start running? And they're like, hey, I'm going to get these running shoes, and once I get those, I'm going to run.
Then I'll go to, yeah.
And I'm kind of like, no, you could run in those ones you have.
You can start.
Those are fine.
You can start.
You know, it's like these mental triggers. A lot of the habit building exercises that you'll see, for instance, with working out. There was this one app that opened up where it started where do 10 push-ups and 10 sit-ups every single day, no matter what, just to get you in the habit of doing, right? The reason I bring something like that up is we try to say, you could say, oh, I'm running for office. I'll lead when I get to Congress.
Yeah. But that's a year and a half from now. What am I going to do in the meantime, Wrendon? I could be doing something.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Like, find out how you can lead where you are right now. One of the things for us, it's what can we do right now in COVID? We can at least start putting out ideas. Mm-hmm. We can try to inspire people to do better, to understand the type of America that we feel that we've grown up in. We can do something. Let's not just rest on our laurels and expect other people to lead.
Particularly when other people are leading in the wrong direction.
Ooh.
See, right now, we do have a lot of leaders that are trying to divide us. That's what I'm seeing a lot of. Capital BLM, that's what I'm seeing a lot of. That's leadership, all right. Not the kind of leadership I want to see in this country.
No.
Critical race theory, that's leadership, all right. Not the kind of leadership I want to see. So in order to combat the kind of leadership that you don't want to see, you have to be the solution to the leadership you do want to see.
Better stand up and say something.
And by the way, if you don't say anything and you let it happen, that's your fault.
And you're part of the problem.
That's your fault.
You're part of the problem.
I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, when you stand by and let things happen,
That's your fault.
you're part of the problem. Passivity is not an excuse.
No. If you see something, you better say something.
Hey, TSA, man.
That's right.
Remember that?
Yo.
See something, say something.
Of course.
Yeah. Those are the pieces that really matter. Those are the people that step up.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's that important.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of the best leaders that I've ever seen was a guy who was my captain on my first ship in the Navy. His name was K.C. Hill.
Okay.
And the K was for Kevin, the C was for Carlos, which was hilarious because he's like the whitest guy ever.
Awesome.
So it's like, hey, Kevin Carlos.
That's weird.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, but yeah.
I'll go with it. Yeah.
But it was great because he had that almost that Bill Clinton twang, and he would rock when he talked like, hey, Ensign Hunt, Ensign Hunt, you're going to bring us into port? What are you thinking, Ensign Hunt? We going to go right on this? Okay. And what Casey Hill always showed me was that he was all in. Mm-hmm. That goes back to what we talk about with show up. Man, that guy was always all in. I don't think he slept while we were on that ship. Mm-hmm. And he always showed that he cared. And I wouldn't realize till years after kind of just the level of knowledge and insight that he had from his career in the Navy. I didn't realize for years after what that really looked like and meant, and couldn't really fathom it at the time when I was Ensign Hunt. But I tell you, man, none of that mattered to me when he was leading me, because all I saw was he was somebody who showed up, who was always there, who was committed.
Mm-hmm. You know, I don't like to give you Navy boys too much credit, you know.
World's finest Navy.
But looking at what's happening even in Florida with Ron DeSantis.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy's crushing it right now. Yeah. I mean, he really is. Had to do make some real unpopular decisions at some really interesting times in this country. Yeah. That could have, by the way, blown up in his face.
Absolutely. But hey, that's what leaders do.
That's what leaders do.
Sometimes it blows up in your face.
Sometimes
you're the hero, sometimes you're the goat.
That's it. That's how it works. And to see where he is right now,
not the good goat.
The bad goat. Yeah. Like the last person that graduates in your class at West Point is called the goat.
That's not the goat.
That's not the goat.
That's the goat.
That's the goat. Like that's the Naval Academy. Like that's the Naval Academy goat.
Yeah, it's a goat.
It's the last.
These are two different.
It's not good.
It's goat the word, not goat the acronym.
Right.
It's different.
Right. So, and watching him lead, and watching him get in front of things, and basically set the pace for every governor, particularly Republican governors, in the entire country.
Man, that was dicey for him to do it.
Whoa.
Too. It was gutsy.
Whoa.
Yeah.
But he did what he felt was right. He stuck to his laurels, and now look at him.
Yeah.
Florida's doing pretty well right now.
They are.
Florida and Texas are crushing it right now.
Going in 2 weeks.
Think about that.
Yeah.
It's called leadership.
Yeah.
It's getting out in front, taking the flak, taking the shrapnel, the good with the bad, but making a firm decision. Making a firm, informed decision.
Yeah.
And sticking by it. And everybody's not going to like it.
Yeah. But that's what leaders do. Yeah.
Now, I don't know if Ron DeSantis learned that from the Navy.
There's a good chance of that.
Whatever. There's zero chance. There's zero chance. What's that really good parent?
Speaking of goat, I have to bring this up, especially considering the day that we're filming.
Michael Jordan's the goat.
Is before.
Nobody
asked you.
Continue. Go ahead.
Continue.
What? Okay.
Oh, what? He's not. So,
Michael Jordan ain't walking out on this team. Tell you that. Bad. Michael Jordan's the goat. Go ahead.
So speaking of the goat, and you and I have had these conversations a number of times. I am a believer that Floyd Mayweather is the GOAT in boxing.
Yeah.
You've heard me say this a number of times. I believe that he's the GOAT because in his prime, because of his skills, he was completely unbeatable.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of people say, well, kind of look at the opponents and look at. A lot of people will say that
he didn't knock a lot of people out. It was a defensive strategy.
But look at the guys that he fought. What happened after he fought them to their careers? Manny Pacquiao is still fighting for championships now.
Yeah, he is.
Canelo Alvarez will be this generation's greatest, probably. Yeah. Look at these fighters after. Yeah. He fought them, right?
He fought Cotto too, right?
Yeah, he fought Miguel Cotto when Miguel Cotto would then go on to get a middleweight title after that, right? Yeah. So the interesting thing that I've always found about my argument for Floyd, because people will say Sugar Ray Leonard, people will say Muhammad Ali. It's always difficult to compare across weight classes. Here's the thing about somebody like Ali. Ali was beatable, clearly. Ken Norton, Frazier. He was beatable because there were times in which he was willing to fight somebody else's fight. Mm-hmm. Floyd Mayweather refused to fight anybody's fight, didn't care how boring you thought it was, and didn't care if you thought it was a pillow fight because he was going to win.
Yeah.
Right? And that's why I think that he is the greatest boxer of all time,
so
because
something to learn about that.
I define greatness as the inability to lose. Mm-hmm. If you talk about most talented, I'm saying Captain Hook, Roy Jones Jr., most talented guy I've ever seen in a boxing ring. In his prime,
probably
before he put on a couple.
Couple, 2, 3.
He doesn't do too much cardio these days. Right? Remember, he used to have a 16-pack.
I got a keg.
Now, it's a different story. Things drop over time. But the reason I bring him up, of course, is because I'm so disappointed, and I understand the money, and I understand you don't get paid to fight Jake Paul and stuff like that.
Yeah.
As a true boxing fan, and I get pay-per-views and watch boxing. I feel like I'm the last one who still does it. Yeah. I love MMA. It ain't boxing. I love boxing, and as a fan, to watch the guy that I feel is the GOAT fight an internet superstar who's 40 pounds heavier than him for show.
Yeah. Come on, man.
And I still might end up buying it. You coming over? I didn't say I wasn't going to buy it.
I said I was disappointed.
That would be the most disappointing $75 I spent. I'd be pissed at myself for buying that pay-per-view. But yeah, I couldn't let us talk about GOAT without talking about Money Mayweather a little bit this afternoon, and it's disappointing to see, but I understand what he's doing, man.
He does, honestly, too, Randy, he doesn't need any more money.
Yeah,
it's not about that. I think at some point, I think these guys just if it comes, they want the attention.
Yeah. Well, I think part of it is the attention, but there's leaders lead and fighters fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what some people are geared towards, that to actually, I have to be in my life training for the next fight or the next event. Yeah. I mean, think about it. This is a 44-year-old man who spent most of his adult life training for the next fight, right? And it just goes back.
I seen that clip. Did you watch it?
Yes, it was awesome. Yeah.
Him at 44 years old, still lightning fast.
Oh yeah, it looks great.
But that's what he's been doing his whole life.
This goes back to, we used to have these conversations all the time. My wife and I used to go to all these old school R&B concerts. We talked about this in the Indian casinos, because you could go to these really great concerts. They would have been $500 concerts 20 years ago.
Catching them on the vacuum.
Yeah. Like, we went and saw 112, Jagged Edge, Drew Hill, like all together. And I'm like, man, if that concert had come out 25 years ago, I'd have never been able to afford that. And I was on the front row for like $25.
Now I'm backstage. I'm backstage for $25. All that and a paycheck.
You go up to the managers and stuff. They're like, hey, man, you want to meet the band after? Yeah, what does it cost? Man, whatever you'll give me. Is $5 okay? Yeah, that's cool.
You're like going to the back, Jagged Edge, smoking a pack of Black and Milds.
Menthols. Camel menthols. That was the most disappointing part of that trip, of that concert, was, you know how Slim from 112 had the 112?
Yeah,
They're like
yeah.
the little like.
I know Slim.
Yeah.
Slim. Yeah.
Man, Slim's been smoking a little bit too much, man.
Yeah.
He didn't sound like that at all. And my wife and I were like, dude, at least fake it.
S the L.
No, he was like, the S, the L. It's like, come on, man. But no, so we used to go to these concerts, and I bring this up because when somebody has done something their whole lives, I'll never forget the first time I had a conversation with one of my buddies who was also an aficionado of 90s R&B. And I was telling him about this concert we were going to. He's like, man, I'm surprised they're still touring. And I'm like,
what else are they going to do?
What else are they going to do?
Yeah.
These guys are musicians.
Yeah.
They're in their 40s, and they've been touring, making music their entire lives. Yeah. Like what like
it's their livelihood now.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what they do is who they are.
That's right.
There's an identity that they have as musicians, and even if they're on the back end of their careers and the music that they're putting out is still good, if there's no market for it, there's no market for it. Doesn't take away these guys' talent.
No. Not at all.
And with the exception of Slim, most of them sounded pretty good. It's the S. I wanted to get up there for it. Let me tell you what I want to do.
Let me fix this.
Let me help you out a little bit.
Well, I think the important thing for this week is making sure that you find your niche, find your way to lead in any kind of capacity. Find a cause that you're passionate about and find a way to get involved and nothing passive about it. Lead and lead from the front.
Yes.
I'll let you go ahead and take us out.
Absolutely. And remember that smiles are contagious. So make someone's day.
God bless you.
God bless you.